Donald Trump met with the Prime Minister of Australia and admitted that Australia's healthcare system is actually better than the healthcare system here in the United States. He said it's a very good bill right now in response to the American Healthcare Act. The premiums are going to come way down very substantially. The deductibles are going to come down. It's going to be fantastic healthcare. Right now, Obamacare is failing. We have a failing healthcare. He also said, I shouldn't say this to our great gentleman and my friend from Australia because you do have better healthcare than we do. So that was his statement. Keep in mind that Australia does have universal healthcare. They actually call it Medicare, and they do cover quite a bit for most citizens. Now, interestingly enough, Bernie Sanders did capitalize, or at least take advantage of this great opportunity to make a point about about Donald Trump and how important universal healthcare really is. Take a look at what he said during this interview.
They do have, they have universal health. I know. I thought you would.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute, Chris. All right, the president has just said it. That's great. Let's take a look at the Australian healthcare system. And let's move. Maybe once take a look at the Canadian health system or systems throughout Europe. Thank you, Mr. President. Let us move to a Medicare for all system that does what every other major country on earth does. Guarantee health care to all people at a fraction of the cost per capita that we spend. Thank you, Mr. President. We'll quote you on the floor of the Senate.
And I hope they do. I hope they do.
So the majority of Americans now understand what single payer means. Before they didn't, and now they understand what Medicare for all means. To the point where Charles Krauthammer last week wrote an editorial saying that he believes single payer is now inevitable. Charles Krauthammer said that. And he said that because no matter-
Then he shot himself in the head.
And he did shoot himself in the head.
So there's no place for me in America, I'm out, yeah.
So it is coming, and the fact that Bernie Sanders, his Unity tour was originally supposed to be a Medicare for all tour, which got hijacked by Tom Perez, and he turned it into a Unity tour because he couldn't have Bernie going out there getting people worked up for Medicare because the corporate Democrats are against Medicare for all. Therefore, Romney Care, which is what we have now.
I love that people are waking up. I think that's the important thing because as discouraging as that House vote was, I think the response is a silver lining. It shows that now more than ever, Americans on both sides are very aware, they're very engaged, they're paying attention because whether they want to believe it or not, and I'm talking about the right, they enjoyed certain aspects of the Affordable Care Act. They enjoyed certain protections. I know that I'm liberal, but my mom called me yesterday and she was scared and she's like, what does this mean for me? Are they gonna kick me off my insurance? Because she had a kidney transplant. And it was terrifying, right? And so I explained to her, look, this is just the House voting. It's unlikely to pass in the Senate, but we have to fight this and that. And those are the kinds of conversations that Americans, regardless of their political ideology, are having right now. They're scared. Yeah. And so I think the political activism is something that we can look forward to. I love that people like Bernie go out there and they spread the message and the truth about what healthcare really is. Like the upsides of universal healthcare, the downsides of the system we have now, what the GOP is really doing behind the scenes as they lie to our faces and tell us that we'll still have those protections that we're enjoying under the Affordable Care Act.
So go ahead, Ben.
Well, I'm curious, you mentioned Democrats sort of, and corporate Democrats not wanting universal healthcare. By the way, your mom maybe don't have the kidney transplant, okay? I'm just saying.
I mean, it's her fault for having that kidney transplant.
I like people who have their original kidneys. I'm just, that's how I choose my friends, Hey, I'm Ben, how you doing? You 2 kidneys, yours? Okay, great, well, let's go to lunch. I just wouldn't hang out with your mom, it's not a big deal.
You're the worst.
Even if she had great hair?
Well, no, it doesn't matter. I draw the line at kidneys. You got to draw a line somewhere. It's my red line. Okay. So, you're correct. Corporate Democrats don't want universal health care. But it does not. I don't think, because it's overly simplistic, that is the only reason why Democrats who argued for years for universal health care now don't support it or don't think it's right politically. Like, say, I'm using Nancy Pelosi as an example, and I think they're wrong, but. There's a political component to it where they think that arguing for, we know at the moment of the Affordable Care Act that universal health care would have killed the Affordable Care Act, right? At that moment, you could argue that 20 years of screaming for it would have put them in a different point, and I would make the same argument. So what's interesting to me is that is this a turning point as you say, more than half of Americans now know what single payer is. That's amazing. I didn't know that about Charles Krauthammer. So are we at a turning point where now Democrats who aren't totally just simplistically beholden to corporate Democrats, and there are plenty, to corporate power structure, might be able to recognize, wait a minute, this is a political moment to seize on. These are politicians.
Yes.
And you sense somehow that rather than thinking if the alternative to Trump care was single payer, there is an old way of looking at that, which would say, Jesus, that'll mean they'll vote for Trump care. So we have to have something like the ACA because because we'll lose. There has to be a moment, you hope, where enough Democrats and some Republicans and sane people say, no, wait, we'll win that single payer versus Trump care argument. I'm certain that there are Democrats terrified that if that's the choice given, that will go with Trump care because there will be a determinative ad blitz and media blitz suggesting that that's communist.
I just want to see
and all that goes with that. But I think we might be at a moment where the politics swing in our favor.
I agree. Go ahead.
I just wanted to make a quick comment about the notion of corporate Democrats, and I agree, corporate Democrats exist, and it's infuriating that they exist. And you have to ask yourself why we have corporate Democrats, and it is because they are more likely to listen to those that are funding their campaigns and giving them their money. Remember, a lot of times, lawmakers don't even read the legislation and they have their staffers do it for them because they're out fundraising. That's what they do with most of their time. And so, yeah, the emphasis is who's giving me money, I'm gonna represent them more, right? But if we have more political activism and we show that it's an actual liability for them to vote in a corporatist way in regard to healthcare, we can actually fight. We can actually be more influential than money in politics. We just need Americans to be engaged. And I think right now we are seeing that trend. And the question is, are Democrats going to acknowledge that and take advantage of that to vote the right way?
Corporate media is awesome.
Wrong.
Independent media is the way to go.
Believe me.
Support independent media right now. Become a Young Turks member. TYTnetwork.com/join.